Just like soap operas, comic books have no shortage of doctors. But, for better or worse, all comic book doctors are not created equal. I'm going to try to come up with a list of top 10 comic book doctors, so some are going to get left out. Who'll make the cut? Let's find out. I've decided to make this month's list topic the top 10 comic book doctors. But just to be clear, I'm not talking exclusively about medical doctors. What I'm talking about are characters with doctor in their name. And just for fun, I'm going to try to match each one up with a medical specialty, just to give it a little twist and add a level of difficulty for myself. So, without delay, I'm just going to get to it. 10. Dr. Sin. Likely the least known on the list, Dr. Sin comes from British comics and first appeared in 2000 AD Annual in 1979. He's an expert on the occult and a demon fighter who looked out for incursions of evil into our mortal realm. He carries holy water and a solid walking stick he can brandish as a weapon if need be. His ordeal started when a family friend was murdered by Satanists. Then, the good doctor got revenge and disappeared from the public eye. In the Misty and Scream Halloween special from 2017, the ghost of Dr. Sin contacted his grandson, a rapper known as Syntax, and basically recruited him into the monster hunting business and led him to take the moniker of Dr. Sin for himself. It is the rapper Syntax who gets the number 10 spot rather than the original, and following a precedent set in the list of top wizards, the 10 spot is for a character with ties to yours truly, because he's a member of the Vigilant, and issue number 1 of the Vigilant features a story written by me, so, oops, I did it again. But really, Dr. Sin is a very cool character. I think the medical specialty that best suits him is, well, since I'm being self-indulgent here, why don't I just stick with that and make him an ophthalmologist? 9. Dr. Polaris. This was a tough call for me, because I had to choose between Dr. Light and Dr. Polaris for this spot. And even though Dr. Light is probably more well known, I have the first appearance of Dr. Polaris hanging up on my wall. Yeah, sometimes my methods aren't very scientific. Dr. Polaris is a master of magnetism, so one could call him a poor man's Magneto. But he debuted a full 3 months before Magneto, but I still prefer Magneto. As a medical student, Neil Emerson developed an intense interest in magnets, which I'm guessing made him the weird guy in the class. For his first major crime, Dr. Polaris robbed the box office at a charity event, which is pretty low even for a comic book villain. Unlike Magneto, Dr. Polaris originally had to depend on a magnetic gun for his powers, then later built the mechanism into a suit. Then finally his body became magnetized. So magnetized, in fact, that he briefly became the southern magnetic pole of the Earth. Pretty impressive for the weird guy from med school, isn't it? So, what specialty will he get? He probably has an affinity for magnetic resonance imaging or MRI, so I'll say radiologist. 8. Doc Sampson. First appearing in the pages of The Incredible Hulk, Doc Sampson is a second-generation psychiatrist and one-time on-the-job doctor for Bruce Banner. But when exposed to some secondhand radiation, he got super strong and grew some long, luscious green hair. And really, when you get down to it, Doc Sampson is on this list because of his hair. Just look at it. It's glorious. Originally, Sampson's strength was directly proportionate to his hair's length, which, though not an original concept, it is really cool. That long, enviable hair also helped him catch the eye of a lady or two. And when he flirted with Betty Ross, Bruce Banner, who had been cured of his Hulkdom at the time, re-exposed himself to gamma rays just so he could kick the pretty boy's butt. Unfortunately, Doc Sampson died trying to help the Hulk contain an immense amount of gamma radiation. But lucky for him, he's a comic book character, so he was resurrected. When it comes to a specialty, the comics have made it clear he's a psychiatrist, but a guy like Doc is all about that side hustle. So the specialty I'm assigning him is based on what I think is his passion gig, or at least what his passion gig ought to be, and of course, that is the Hair Club for Men. 7. Dr. Octopus. This is our first iconic Doctor on the list, and he has been so cool in comics, cartoons, and movies. But unlike Doc Sampson, his hair is not his strong suit, though I guess it is charming in a Mo Howard sort of way. I guess when your hero is named after an 8-legged creature, an octopus theme works for a major villain. The tentacles on the Secret Wars Doc Ock figure from the mid-80s always mesmerized me. I'd never seen an action figure like that before, so I had to have one. He's always had cool stuff going on in the comics, and even got to spend some time with his mind and Spider-Man's body. But it's hard to top the version found in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 as portrayed by Alfred Molina. From a lower-class family with an abusive father, Otto scienced his way to the top. That is, until his science turned him evil. When a lab accident showered him with chemicals, his mind transformed from a hard-working mama's boy into a megalomaniacal criminal. That's why I only use all-natural deodorant. My mind couldn't handle any less stability. Given how much he likes to work with heavy equipment and hardware, I think the natural medical specialty for Doc Ock is definitely orthopedics. 6. Dr. Psycho. I must confess, I didn't really think about Dr. Psycho much until fairly recently, when he became a regular on the excellent animated Harley Quinn series. And even though he's been around for nearly 80 years, he's included on this list solely on the strength of his depiction in that cartoon. He was created by Wonder Woman writer William Marston Moulton to be the embodiment of misogyny, and boy do they run with that concept on Harley Quinn. He's a diminutive guy with a big mouth, voiced by Buster Bluth himself, Tony Hale. He has the power of telekinesis and a serious case of Napoleon complex, and after using a really bad word on television, he joins Harley's crew in a bid to rehabilitate his public image. I don't think he's very successful in that pursuit, but you'll have to watch the show and decide for yourself. But only if you're at least 18 years old. It's not for kids. I feel like his comic book appearances couldn't possibly be as entertaining as his animated version, but I must admit I'm going to seek them out and give it a go. As far as his medical specialty is concerned, he's done a pretty good job of being a little butthole from day one, so I'm going to assign him colorectal surgery. 5. Dr. Midnight. Dr. Midnight is a Golden Age DC character and member of the Justice Society of America. And I've got a real soft spot for the JSA, so they may have another member on this list before I'm through. Charles McNider is a blind superhero who preceded Daredevil by 23 years and has just the coolest old school costume you'll ever come across. A former surgeon who was blinded by a mobster's hand grenade, McNider discovered the unexpected ability to see in total darkness, but only in total darkness. He used this ability along with his pet owl, named Hootie, but without any blowfish, to fight the criminals that crept in the night and serving them a villain's least favorite dish, a couple of good old knuckle sandwiches. He's really on this list primarily due to my love of his simple but memorable Golden Age garb, a green cape, a simple cowl, and a crescent moon for an emblem. Elegance and simplicity and no need for bells and whistles. Given his preference for working nights and facing unpredictable circumstances, I think the perfect medical specialty for this guy is emergency medicine. 4. Dr. Fate. I first discovered Dr. Fate as an action figure in my all-time favorite toy line, Superpowers. His blue and gold costume, along with a shiny helmet that would be at home on a Greek hoplite, fascinated me to no end. All I understood about his powers was magic. And magic is all I needed. My imagination provided the rest. He wasn't in the early years of Super Friends or on any lunchboxes or underoos, so he seemed like the first new superhero I had discovered in a long time, even though in actuality he's quite old. Like Dr. Midnight, he too was a Golden Age DC character and a member of the Justice Society of America. The book he debuted in was More Fun Comics, and I think there are only 3 doctors in comics more fun than Dr. Fate, so I guess that comic was aptly named. He got his superpowers from the helmet, amulet, and cloak of Naboo that he discovered on an archaeological dig in the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia. I have to admit that if I found that snazzy helmet, I wouldn't be able to resist putting it on either. These relics, along with the spirit of Naboo, helped him become a sorcerer, but not the Sorcerer Supreme, as we're about to find out. Given the effectiveness of that face mask as personal protective equipment, or PPE, I don't think there's any question about his medical specialty. It has to be infectious disease. 3. Doctor Strange. See, now here is the Sorcerer Supreme, and that's not just my opinion, it's in his job title. Created by Steve Ditko and debuting in Strange Tales in 1963, Doctor Strange is the Marvel magic character with Doctor in his name, and he came by his magical abilities a little differently than DC's guy. Doctor Strange was a surgeon whose skill was only surpassed by his ego, but when a terrible car crash severely damaged his hands, he felt that his identity was as lost as his ability to operate. His desperate search for a cure for the shattered bones in his paws took him halfway around the globe. Following a rumor overheard from a couple of drunken sailors, he goes to the Himalayas in search of a reclusive individual known only as the Ancient One. The Ancient One refuses to help Strange due to his arrogance, but senses a good side deep down inside the dolt. After an act of selflessness, he defends the Ancient One against the villainous Baron Mordo. Strange gets a second chance at magic, a chance he doesn't waste. He goes on to be not only an accomplished sorcerer, but as his full title suggests, he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. Living in the creepiest house in the hip neighborhood of Greenwich Village with his affable assistant Wong, he becomes not only a recognizable superhero, but one of the top 10 doctors in comics. His medical specialty shouldn't be defined by his time as a surgeon, but by his life after that, so I think the natural fit is physical medicine and rehabilitation. Oh boy, we're down to the final 2. Who's going to be on top? It doesn't matter, all the doctors on this list are board certified by Bruce's board of awesome comic doctors. 2. Dr. Manhattan. Those who know me know darn well that if a Watchmen character fits on a list, they're gonna make an appearance. And as the primo doctor from Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan was a sure thing. Big and blue and all-powerful, not even a lack of pants can keep Dr. Manhattan off my mostly PG list. Look, there's a lot to say about Dr. Manhattan. How he was derived from Charlton Comics' Captain Atom, about how he is an incredible study in transhumanism, and about the ethical questions of seeing everyone as a bag of molecules rather than people. Even about what responsibility he has to a humanity he can no longer identify with. But all I can think about is how we all saw his big blue bathing suit area raw and uncovered in comics as well as the big screen and the small. A little nudity goes a long way, both literally and figuratively, with this guy. He has some of the most quotable quotes in comics, but for me, none more so than, "Nothing ends, Adrian, nothing ever ends," or, "We're all puppets, Laurie, I'm just a puppet who can see the strings." This character makes me think about physics and life in equal parts, and he also makes me enjoy both just a little bit more. John Osterman, my friend, there is nothing I can say about your awesomeness that hasn't already been said. His medical specialty is urologist. That's a wiener doctor. Only one doctor can have the esteem to be number 1 on this list, and that is the esteemed Dr. Doom. Part science and part black magic, this guy looks like a cross between an awesome robot and a medieval knight. And that fantastic look created by the King Jack Kirby really draws a lot of water in my world. Probably at least a little bit of the influence in the design of Darth Vader, Dr. Doom is often imitated but never duplicated. He's probably my second favorite Marvel villain, and in many people's top 10 characters period. He has to be in most people's top 10 villains, and he's my top doctor in comics. At his core, Dr. Doom's only real superpower is his willpower. And his willpower is definitely super powerful. He was able to resist Purple Mind's mind control, even when amplified to an incredible magnitude.
I think I just said Purple Mind. I promise I meant Purple Man. It's been a tough week, I'm tired, and I'm sorry.
Through his sheer stubbornness. I can't quite put my finger on what makes this diabolical egomaniac so darn appealing, but there's no denying the appeal is real. Being both the most famous and most dangerous export of the fictional European country Latveria, Dr. Doom has thrilled the hearts and minds of children young and old for nearly 60 years. For some reason, movies haven't been able to get him right, but who needs movies when we've got comics? Lots of comics. When an incursion of every universe upon itself threatened to end all existence as we know it, Dr. Doom found a way to turn it in his favor and make himself the God King of the world, a world called Doom World. In the lead up to that incursion, Doom says to Namor,
Doom is no man's second choice.
So I have no choice but to make him number one on my list. His medical specialty, hey, it's whatever he wants. I want to stay on his good side. Now to recap from 10 to 1. 10. From 2000 AD in The Vigilant, Dr. Sin. 9. A master of magnetism not named Magneto, Dr. Polaris. 8. The fella over there with the hella good hair, Doc Sampson. 7. Sometimes 8 is enough, Dr. Octopus. 6. Big potty mouths come in small packages, Dr. Psycho. 5. A blind man that taught me how to see, Dr. Midnight. 4. With a helmet that nice, who needs to be handsome, Dr. Fate. 3. Nobody would buy a comic called Dr. Normal, so it's Dr. Strange. 2. The most talked about neon blue naughty bits in comics, Dr. Manhattan. And 1. A bad name for a pediatrician, but a great name for a villain, Dr. Doom. So, who are your favorite comic book doctors? Let me know down in the comments. And if you could, give the video a like. And please subscribe so you get more content about material from comic books and related media. And don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an episode. And until next time, remember, heroes are super.